so?
Because what Belle likes to do is when she doesn't have anywhere to put something, she puts it on top of my area.
Okay.
And then what that means is that over the course of the week, so my desk is a state at the moment to a point where I can't actually get to my laptop. So she has a professional setup with a much better mic and camera, with 2 screens and everything like that.
Are you using the microphone? Because it doesn't
Yeah,
sound like you are.
I am.
Where is it?
It's in front of me.
Could you bring it closer to your face?
Is that better?
Actually, yeah. Not better for visual aspects, though.
Can you hear me?
Oh, yeah. It was just like, it wasn't,
Then
the sound quality wasn't very good when you were all the way back there.
I'm very sorry.
Like, that's why my mic is right here.
Well, I don't do this professionally, so
We
I'm
know.
going to spend money on an expensive microphone.
The best part about it is that your name on the display is also Bella.
Okay.
I just think it's funny.
What problem do you have at the moment?
I'm just trying to make sure that you're gonna get, like, I'm not gonna talk over you and it's gonna like cut you off completely.
I'm sorry, the production. Are we suddenly getting serious about the production level of this podcast?
Yeah, we had a theme tune last week.
A theme tune that you queued up on YouTube and just happened to play at the same time that the podcast started.
No, it was your thing that I cut out from the podcast and played.
Okay. So of the almost 20 podcasts we've done,
It's
one.
over 20 now. This is 22, I think.
Oh, that was a good thing to celebrate.
Yeah.
Of all the podcasts that we've done, one has had a theme tune.
Yeah.
How much editing did you put into that one?
0, because I played it live. Anyway, welcome to Better Luck Next Week, everybody.
Oh, you started the podcast.
Yes, I have. I wanted to understand why you were using a different computer on the podcast.
Okay.
So here we are. This is the Super Bowl, post Super Bowl show.
Post Super Bowl.
We probably could have done this sooner than today because the wave of Super Bowl excitement has dropped off a little bit. But I mean, my excitement.
Maybe that's our in, because maybe people are like, do you know what I want to listen to? I want to listen to 2 people with no real understanding of what happened. Talk about a game that happened a week ago.
I mean, I understand the game.
Yeah, I understand what happened. I can comment on it.
It was pretty boring, is what happened.
Well, it was an interesting game.
Sort of. I mean, it was more interesting than when Brady won 13-3.
Yeah, that was a snooze fest. At least things were happening. The problem was that Tom played a perfect game. Sorry, he was 21 for 29 for 201 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Did have an interception though, didn't he?
No.
That was Mahomes.
Yeah, it got called off. Spread the ball about fairly well between his receiving core. The running backs did rather well. I mean, if you look at it numbers-wise, it's not great. But the problem was that the Chiefs got more penalties. They got penalties in terrible places. And the Bucks, you can't hand Tom Brady the ball on the 30-yard line and go, oh, he's not going to score. And then when they do march it down the field and you're at a goal line stand and you line off, you stop them to the point where they go, right, we're going to kick it. And then you line up offside for the kick. And they get a 1st and 10 on your 1-yard line. I mean, I can understand people being upset because one of the past interference calls was terrible.
Yeah, it was pretty weak.
But the problem is that you make it difficult for a referee when you're making the thing is that yeah, okay, pass interference is a difficult thing to call, but if it's so clear that even I'm sat there going, yeah, that was pass interference, because the first one where your player is running down the field, gets beat, and then as he falls, knocks the legs out of the other player, and the ball then lands a foot in front of him, you can't not call that. I mean, the one where, with the best will in the world, the ball bounced off the back of the end zone.
Yeah, that for me was the questionable one, because that ball was probably not catchable.
But the problem is that what the refs have got to say is that, well, could he have within the next, I think, he was stopped 6 paces before the ball would have gone over his head. Well, we can't say that within those 6 paces he wouldn't have got in a position where he could have caught that.
It's fair.
Because with the best will in the world, the guy's 6'5", and the ball was thrown about, probably at about 7 foot. So, yeah, if he went up to catch it, it flew through his hands, hit the back of the end zone, and then they call pass interference, I'd go, yeah. But if you stop him 6-7 paces before he was even going to touch the ball.
Well, yeah, he was interfered with on the goal line, and the ball was at the end of the end zone. So you're looking at 5-6 yards at least. For me, this was painful to watch, to be honest, for the Chiefs as a whole. I had picked Brady and the Bucs to win the game, but this was painful to watch, because the entire game the Chiefs did nothing but shoot themselves in the foot. I mean, no wonder Patrick Mahomes was so upset. We saw the tweets of pictures coming out of him just disappointed because his receivers, he must have thrown some of the most perfectly thrown incomplete passes in the world, because he would throw it right to his receivers' hands and they would just go boom, and they drop it.
This is the thing for me, is that, and this is the point that I always get, is that a lot of people go, oh, the connection between Odell and Eli was so great. Odell was having to make spectacular catches and amazing one-handed leaps because Eli wasn't putting the ball where he needed it to.
Yeah.
So that's why the only way Odell could catch the ball, Eli didn't go, I'm going to put the ball 6 yards in front of him. Odell went, well, if I don't somehow figure out how to catch that, we're not going to get there. Every single pass from Patrick Mahomes, if you watch any of his highlight tapes, is to the numbers. Even if he's falling backwards with a defensive end around his waist, it's still to the numbers.
The guy was horizontal and threw an underarm pass to the numbers of his receiver.
Yeah. He went 26 for 49. I'd be honest and say that you could probably add about 8 or 9 onto that of catches that were just dropped.
Yeah.
That just
at least
hit a guy in the hand and he just didn't hold on to it. I mean, this should have been a closer game. The problem is that if you look at it, okay, you look at the first quarter, Tampa Bay Buccaneers score a touchdown. Kansas City have to kick it. That's annoying. If you go into the second quarter, 7-3, and you make some of those catches and you can score, well, then in the second quarter, you're going into halftime, 10-14. That's a completely different game mentally, isn't it? It's a completely different game mentally. Because you go, right, we're only 4 behind. We've got Patrick Mahomes. We can do this. But the problem is, for me, is that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers defense did exactly what they needed to do to this Chiefs. They played one defensive scheme all night. It was cover 2. It wasn't complicated cover 2. They went, right, we're not going to give you anything deep, and we're not going to give you anything on the sideline. If you want the ball, you're going to have to catch it in the middle, and it's going to be a bang-bang hit, which is, I've caught the ball, I'm going to get it. And the problem for me is that the Chiefs don't have that person that is willing to take the ball, go across the middle, and get it. Because Travis Kelce had a couple where he ran across the middle, the ball flew to him, and he missed it. And you just go.
Well, for me, that's the guy that needs to be the bang bang guy. He's
Yeah,
he's
5'10".
87 is Tom Brady's bang bang guy. That's Gronkowski. So why isn't 87 on the Chiefs the same thing? I mean, they're practically the same size. Kelsey's a massive human being.
Yeah, I mean, Travis Kelce. I mean, we can't exactly say that he had a bad game because he went 10 for 133.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing here for me, and this will be the interesting one off season, which we'll talk about next. Tyreek Hill went 7 for 73. Now, for most wide receivers, that's a career game. That's a good game. But the Chiefs are used to having double that at least from Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that was the worst playoff. That was the worst playoff game for Tyreek Hill. I would say this was the worst playoff game for a lot of the Chiefs.
The thing for me, what the Chiefs need to develop in the offseason is they need to develop people that means that Patrick has got more than 2 players that he trusts.
Yeah, well, let's stick with the game for a bit longer though, because another story from this game was that Patrick Mahomes' offensive line was not up to par, and Tampa Bay did exactly what they needed to do and just beat up the offensive line. Patrick Mahomes had negative seconds in the pocket the entire game, and that's really all you need to do to beat a team like the Chiefs. Figure out what their weakness is and exploit it to the nth degree. And the Tampa Bay defensive line did that.
They just came after him. And the thing is that a lot of people are turning around and saying, oh, well, it's Mahomes' fault. He should be able to play under pressure. With the best will in the world, Mahomes is the best at playing, under pressure and being pressured because he can scramble out and he can make some stuff happen. Well, if you've got a guy coming after you every single play and you're catching the ball and your first thing you have to do is move, try and figure it out, make something happen in the 10 seconds, 5 seconds that you've got to get away from him, you're going to make mistakes. And I don't put this game at the feet of Mahomes.
Well, I would say if that was any other quarterback that was being rushed that much, this game would have been even worse for the Chiefs.
This is a bad game. Okay, then you come out after going into the half 14-3 is a difficult one because you're 2 scores down and you have realised that Tom is not going to allow you to not do anything.
Well, and you're 2 scores down and you allowed essentially the same play that the Packers allowed Tom Brady to pull, where they scored a late touchdown in the half, right?
Yeah.
So your momentum is constantly being beaten down. Anything that the Chiefs had started to build immediately got pushed back down again by something that Tom Brady or the Buccaneer defense ended up doing.
The one for me as well is in this game, and something to me that should have been adjusted on the Chiefs side. The Chiefs, for me, it's almost as if they went into the game, did the first half, and then in the locker room went, everything's fine.
I think they thought they were going to do a lot better than they did.
There was no willingness to adapt.
No.
Because if it was me, there were a couple of things at halftime and going, right, DBs and Tyreek Hill, DBs and stuff like that. Right, guys, we're going to tape your hands shut because we are getting called holding so much that we just need to stop that.
Holding, PI, whatever.
Yeah, we're going to take your hands shut. And then we are going to change what we're going to try and do offensively. Because what they were trying wasn't working. Because the thing is that if you look at the penalties, now the Bucs got 39 yards in penalties, not great. Kansas City had 120 yards of penalty yards. If you look at the stats with the penalties removed, total yards, Buccaneers got 340, Kansas City 350. Passing yards, 243, Kansas City, Bucks 195. Rushing yards, Bucks have won on rushing yards, and yards per play is 0.3 of a yard off. So if you can take those 120 penalty yards away, it's a different game. But,
it's a much more even game. It's a much closer game, and maybe a bit more of an exciting game too.
Yeah,
this game was really boring, and I had really hoped that it wasn't going to be boring. And I don't get why it is that Super Bowls over the last decade have been very boring, except for a few.
I think the thing is that what you really need going into a Super Bowl is some kind of upset, because this was the two best teams in football, which with argument it should be. But the problem is with the things that are great in football are when teams make mistakes. The Minneapolis Miracle doesn't happen unless that DB misses the tackle and lets Stephon Diggs run into the end zone. So the problem is that Kansas City nor the Bucks, neither of them were going to let anyone have a 70-yard run. Neither of them were going to let anyone have a spectacular catch. It was just two teams playing very good football, and very good football should be reasonably boring. I don't think there's anything you can do about that. I think next year is going to be a more interesting year, because I think the dynamic of what teams is going to go is going to be good. There is a lot of off-season talent moving around. Sorry, but
lovely.
I think that Kansas City need to get a better offensive line from Mahomes, because I think he's putting out that offensive line more than it needs to.
Well, they need to have better depth.
You
can't.
And then they need to get
go into the
young
Super
wide receiver
Bowl.
talent.
Yeah, you can't go into the Super Bowl with your second stringers who are, I mean, they might as well have been practice roster players. You know, no offense to them, but they just didn't do their job at all.
No.
You know, so you add that and all the penalties that we talked about, and I mean, we've said it. This would have been a totally different game.
I think for me, what you need to do at the start of next year is either I don't know if you do it in the postseason games, because preseason games, because I don't know if you want to risk Mahomes. I would make him play the first two games of the year without Kelsey and Hill, because then he's got to learn to use the other guys. Because I'm sure those other guys are talented. I just don't think they're used to Mahomes throwing to them.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Now we can talk a bit about the officiating, because there were a couple of plays that I didn't like. The biggest one and the most controversial one was the Matteau unsportsmanlike conduct penalty when he went at Brady and was, you know, to me, this should have been a flag on both players.
Yeah.
I don't, you know, we don't know. I mean, you and I don't know. I haven't seen anywhere what
the NFL
either of them said.
The NFL stated this morning that they're not going to release it. That footage won't be released.
So we're not going to know. We don't know. We're probably never going to know what was said between the two players. There's rumors that Matteau kind of attacked what Tom Brady does with his family, where he kisses them on the mouth, which, you know, is a little weird, but whatever. It's your family.
Yeah.
As long as everybody's happy with it, it doesn't matter. So there's rumors that he said something about that, and then Brady went back at him. The fact that Brady goes back at him, I mean, I don't know. Regardless of what was said, I think both players should have been penalized.
The thing for me is, the way I look at it is that Tyrann Mathieu said something to Tom. Tom said something to Tyrann. That's probably been going on all game.
Well, it had been. There's video evidence of it going on all game, because the two of them, like, Matthew
Yeah.
is at Brady trying to
Mhm.
rush him.
Yeah. But
You
the
know,
thing for me with this is that, look, at the end of the day, those two said stuff to each other, and I think they've showed some class. Now, with the actual thing that happened, I think both of them should have been penalised because Matthew came up to Tom and said something and then turned away and walked away. Tom then jogged after him and came after him and said something,
yeah.
which to me is Tom engaging back. Tom's not had something said to him and gone, oh, well, and walked off. They're both engaging. They're both dealing with it. Throw the flag on both of them. Um, but these two players evidently have a level of respect for each other because Tyron tweeted something and then deleted it. And it's been explained that Tom Brady texted him and said, well, said whatever he said. The fact that they have each other's phone numbers probably to me shows a level of respect because I'm sure that if Tom Brady had to go through 9 people to get Tyron's phone number, we wouldn't be at this point.
Yeah.
Because this has been strictly between them two. It's been dealt personally to me in the right way because two players have had a problem on the field and they've shown that actually they're grown men. They've texted each other and gone, hey, what you said wasn't okay. Or Tom said, hey, Peter Battle, what you said got to me. And Tyron went, yeah, that was the plan.
Mm-hmm.
I was intending to piss you off. Don't know why you'd purposely piss off Tom Brady. But
yeah, because then you're dealing with pissed off Tom Brady, who plays even better.
Pissed off Tom Brady. But Tom texted him, whatever Tom texted him was made Tyron understand, and they ended it all. End of the day.
Now, let's talk a bit about what happened after the game. I want to start with the MVP award, which was given to Tom. I don't think anyone else was going to get it other than Tom, because that seems to kind of be how things just go. It's kind of like, if Tom Brady's winning the Super Bowl, he's winning the MVP, right? Where it's like, if Sidney Crosby's winning the Stanley Cup, he's probably getting the Conn Smythe, which is the MVP.
Well, it's kind of one of those things that it's very difficult for players that aren't quarterbacks to get the MVP because the quarterback is kind of the leadership role. It's the one that makes all the decisions on the offense, and the NFL is an offense-based game.
Well, and then there you go. So that gives me my point is that I don't think we're ever going to see a defensive player ever get MVP in football, let alone the Super Bowl.
I mean, Aaron Donald's got it.
We'll get to that.
Overall, no, he got overall MVP a couple of years ago.
Okay.
And if you actually look at the players 100, which is voted on by the players themselves, there is often defensive players higher up the end of the echelon because I think that a good quarterback is important, but good defense is just as important.
So is a good defense, right? So this is there again. There's always this separation between the media and the owners who vote on most of the awards, and then the awards that the players vote on, who those go to. Because I think it truly in this game, and I think this is actually a lot of the media in agreement of it as well. I think if there was a bit more of a vote on who the MVP was, that and you could have given it to anybody, it would have been given to the defensive line of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Because they were the ones that didn't let Mahomes do anything. We mentioned it earlier.
Yeah.
And they're truly the reason why Mahomes couldn't get anything done. So, yes, Brady played a good game. We expect him to play that well in the Super Bowl. He always plays that well in the Super Bowl. So, it was predictable for him to get it, but I think it could have gone a different way.
I mean, yeah, it's a difficult one. It's always going to end up probably being QB. But it's a difficult one. I just brought up because I wanted to see what you thought. So the NFL top 100 list of the NFL players voted most valuable players for 2020 because 2021 hasn't come out yet. Lamar Jackson, Russell Wilson, Aaron Donald, Patrick Mahomes, Michael Thomas, Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle, DeAndre Hopkins. So you're looking at 3 QBs out of the first top 10 because those are the ones that make the most impact on their particular team.
Well, what's amazing is that guys like Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady are not in there.
Yeah, that's understandable.
But this was this was of the 2020 season.
Yes.
Right.
The overall season.
So that's the difference. It's not in their lives. It's the 1 year.
Yeah.
So there's the difference. Now, there's some other stuff we can talk about. I think that pretty much wraps up the game. There's not really much else to say about it other than, Mahomes did what he could. The Chiefs shot themselves in the foot because of all the penalties.
Yeah.
And it was a bit boring. The weekend was good, though. The halftime show I thought was really good.
I went and did something else during the halftime show.
You were awake?
Yeah, kind of. I had stuff to do on Monday, so I watched the first half an hour and then went to bed.
I was going to say, I'm surprised that you were awake for the halftime show.
For some unknown reason, I understand it's because they want it at a certain time in America. In the UK, we're quite lucky. We have a 6 o'clock game. It works out, and then we have a 9:30 game. Both of which I'm normally happy to watch if they're an interesting game, because the 9:30 game normally finishes about 11:30. The 6 o'clock game finishes about 9:30. When the Super Bowl starts in the UK at 11:30, sorry, and it's the Super Bowl, so just because it starts at half, the kickoff will probably happen until 12. You're not going to bed until 2:30 in the morning.
Way later than that. This game took a full 3 hours plus, almost 4 hours.
Yeah, I'm not staying up with that. I know you call me an old man, but I like to sleep constantly.
That was the other problem with the game. It was boring and long. The Super Bowl's always long, and with all the penalties, it took even longer. And then with the lack of offense, and the fact that it just felt like Tom Brady was just beating up on the Chiefs by the end of it, it just felt really, really long. And then, of course, they do the whole thing that I hate where they start, congratulating each other when there's 36 seconds left in the game.
That's annoying. We talk about the defensive MVP because that was fucking annoying.
Okay, well, let's wrap up the game first, and then we have to discuss there's some aftermath of it with the whole Mahomes' wife going off on Twitter. And I just don't really understand what are you trying to achieve? It doesn't matter, male, female, whatever. If you are the spouse of a professional athlete, going on social media and ripping into the referees, basically implying that they're biased, that they're purposely doing things to make your husband, wife, whatever, lose. And then also ripping on a national network because they're posting photos of your spouse that are because ESPN was posting photos of Mahomes visibly unhappy as the game went on. And she and his wife was trashing ESPN for doing their job.
I mean, with the best will in the world, their job is to make people read about sports.
Read, watch, look at, whatever.
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes was losing a Super Bowl. He's not going to be in a good mood.
No, and God forbid you post a photo of that on your...
But also as well, look, in the nicest possible way, after you lose a game, the best thing you can do is congratulate your opponent, which Mahomes did. He walked over to Tom, he shook his hand, he gave him a bit of a hug, and went, well done. get in your locker room, have the conversation with the team, which is going to be a sucky conversation anyway. Like, how does that conversation go well?
Yeah.
Get in your car and go home. And to me, if I was Patrick Mahomes and I just lost the Super Bowl, I'd put my phone somewhere and I would just give myself a week to just chill out.
Yeah.
Because he's probably, I don't know what his schedule is. I don't know what professional athlete's schedule is, but he's probably working out every single day. He's probably eating a very strict diet. He's probably had a very hard, difficult year. Let's have a week off. And
Well, and effectively what's happened now is that his spouse, I'm going to refrain from saying wife because this can happen to anybody.
Yeah.
Right? But his spouse effectively brought this extra pile of garbage to now go with the loss, because all she's done is just make her look unsportsmanlike.
But the thing is that all she needed to do is just basically, sorry, I'm having to move my head because every now and again
the background comes.
Well, it decides that my hair is part of the background, so that.
Well, but what's great too is that the football kind of pops out of your head sometimes.
Can't figure out how to
There
turn
it is.
it off. Hey, but your, I don't want to say job, but you know what I mean. Your position as the wife, husband, spouse of anyone that is a serious high-level sport is not to make their lives more difficult.
Right.
It's already difficult. Patrick Mahomes has a difficult job. I'm sure the money helps, but he probably just can't go down to the local shop.
No.
He's especially in Kansas City where he lives, he is a superstar. So, all you really needed to do for him was when he got home, was crack him a drink or something like that. Go, you played your best. I'm proud of you. Well done. You'll get that back there next year. Kansas City are building a dynasty. They just are. They are going to be the perennial team for the next couple of years. There's some good competition, but I don't think I'm being unrealistic where I say that Patrick will at least win another couple of Super Bowls in his career.
I'll
be very surprised if he didn't.
I'll put this on the other side, and just because again, I don't want to be labeling as anything. This would be like, so I have to celebrate the Lamoureux twins, massive names in women's hockey in the United States. Jocelyn Lamoureux and Monique Lamoureux. They just retired from hockey, from professional hockey. But they've been on the other side of Canada winning some pretty controversial gold medals over them in the Olympics. So this would be like their spouses tweeting about bias refereeing and then shit posting TSN or ESPN about posting photos of Team USA being upset. Like it just doesn't make sense to do this.
It's just something you just shouldn't. Just don't do it.
Yeah.
There you go. You've just lost the game.
If you're
there's no benefit to you saying anything.
And it wasn't just his wife either. There were relatives that were doing this as well. So if you are related to a professional athlete, stay off social media when they're having a bad time.
Yeah. The next thing we do have to talk about is the defensive MVP, because I've got to be honest, I don't get how this happened.
And I think most people don't.
Because the defensive MVP came out and was Aaron Donald, who won it last year.
Mm-hmm.
I know. But as JJ Watt was quite quick to point out. And the funniest bit was that people then turned around to JJ Watt and said he doesn't know what he's talking about. With the best will in the world, JJ Watt is currently the second highest rated defensive player ever. Just ever.
Right.
But if you look at the numbers, this is what I can't understand. Now, tackles, TJ Watt 53, Aaron Donald 41. I'd go, I mean, it's not close there, Aaron. Sorry. Sacks, TJ had 15 and Aaron Donald had 13.5. And you go, all right. And a lot of people's argument on that is, well, Aaron Donald gets double teamed quite a lot. I don't exactly think that teams are looking at TJ Watt and going, oh, we'll just let him have that. No, he's being double teamed as well, and defensive schemes are being skewed towards him. This is where I start to struggle. Tackles for loss, TJ Watt 23, Aaron Donald 12. So almost half as many. Pressures, TJ Watt 55, Aaron Donald 42. Again, that's one of those ones where I go, it's close. And if the rest of it was close, I'd kind of go, kind of close, can get it. The next one that becomes difficult is QB hits 41 to 26. So that's, again, double. Forced fumbles, now this is the one where TJ loses, 2 to 4. So, okay, there's one there. Pass defenses 7 to Aaron Donald 1, interceptions 1 to Aaron Donald none. So it's pretty evident over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out of 7 categories that TJ Watt is a clear head above Aaron Donald. Now, obviously, yes, things are situational. They played different teams, da 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 da. But MVP is most valuable. It's not best. It's not most double team. It's most valuable.
Well,
And
let me jump in. Let me jump in with this, Gavin. It's not even MVP. It's Defensive Player of the Year. So that to me means best.
Yeah, the best player.
Right? Because what I was going to say about MVP is that I know, especially in hockey, when they evaluate most valuable player, they evaluate it as most valuable player to his team.
Okay, yeah, value is the difficult word.
Right. And so that's why they've avoided it completely and said player of the year, which just means best, which Aaron Donald was not.
No, for me, if you're saying most valuable player of the year, it would be this. So basically, that's not a thing that's voted on. That is, you look at the defensive players in your defensive measurables, which I assume is tackles, sacks, tackles for loss, pressures, QB hits, fumbles, pass defensive, and interceptions. And whoever comes to the top of that list, you go, there you go. Yeah. It would be like most best offensive player of the year. To me, now I would remove...
The offensive player of the year was Derrick Henry.
Yeah, that's probably because when you look at how many yards as an individual player, now I think you've got to remove QBs for that, but individual yards at a skill position, Derrick Henry probably has the most yards.
I would also say probably yards per game.
Yeah.
Based on touches, right? So like, he's creating the most offense with what he's got, what he's been given. So that makes sense. Defensive Rookie of the Year, Chase Young for Washington, I think makes sense. The other one for me that doesn't make sense, now TJ Watt did get the Deacon Jones Award. I don't know what that is, but he did get something. It's not like he didn't get anything.
Yeah.
What I don't understand is how you can have a rookie performance like Chase Claypool,
Mm-hmm.
the Canadian wide receiver for the Pittsburgh
Yeah.
Steelers, how you can have a season like he did and not
Yeah.
get offensive rookie of the year because it was given to Justin Herbert, but Los Angeles Chargers quarterback Justin Herbert was given Pepsi Rookie of the Year, which to me is a more prestigious award because you are the Rookie of the Year. That's it, right? And then you've got offensive and defensive Rookies of the Year. So
Mm-hmm.
why are you giving the offensive Rookie of the Year branch to the same guy that's won the overall Rookie of the Year, which is a more prestigious award? Why would you not give the offensive Rookie of the Year award to someone else, like a Chase Claypool, who was arguably one of the best receivers for the Pittsburgh Steelers this whole year?
Yeah. It's I can't search.
That's the other one that doesn't make sense to me as much
So
as the Aaron Donald thing.
so the thing for me with Chase Claypool that I kind of go, I mean, yeah, he's a rookie and he's had a really good year. Is that he was 31 of all of the wide receivers in the league. So to me, in his first year in the league, you go, that's pretty good. Was there a rookie that had a better year than him? No? Okay. Then he gets it.
Right.
The thing for me that I don't get about any of these kind of things is you look at it and go, well, I don't reach that same decision as you guys have when you get down to it. Like I can understand Derrick Henry being the number one person because I'm just looking on ESPN's website. Derrick Henry had 2,027 rushing yards this year. The next closest player of any position, apart from QBs, because obviously they're miles ahead, is Dalvin Cook and Stephon Diggs. And they are 500 yards away from him. So there you go. I mean,
Makes sense. And this is
yeah.
the thing, because I scroll down and I see most valuable player is Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers was the most valuable player to his team.
Yeah, I can see that.
Right? Without Aaron Rodgers, the Green Bay Packers are barely a team this year.
Yeah.
Right? You know, you could maybe say the same thing about Tom Brady and the Buccaneers, but Tom Brady brought talent to the Buccaneers that made the whole team better.
Yeah,
You know, Antonio Brown came in, Gronkowski came in, all these other players came in to fill in around Brady to make the team better. The Green Bay Packers really did not improve themselves that much between last year and this year. Aaron Rodgers was that team. Aaron Rodgers dragged that team into a deep playoff run. That's why he got most valuable player. These other awards are the best in their category, which is why Aaron Donald should not have won Defensive Player of the Year.
The thing for me, and we'll move on to this in a minute, just because I think we have to talk about it. So, offensive passing leaders. Who do you think your top three is?
In yardage?
Without looking at
so
this
throwing,
is something that will lead us on to the next team we're going to talk about.
This is throwing yardage this season.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to go with Rodgers is in the top three, I would say.
I'm not going to tell you until you've said your entire top three. So.
Well, wasn't it the top? I thought it was the three guys that were being considered for MVP. Josh Allen had a lot of throws, a lot of yards. Phillip Rivers had a lot of yards, actually. I'll go with those three.
So
they're wrong.
This is you're wrong. I mean, Josh Allen is. The other guys aren't even in the conversation. This is what hurts when you now look at. We'll move on to the next subject. if you look at the most yards of defensive leaders, your number 5 is Josh Allen with 4,544. Matt Ryan with Atlanta. Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Now, all of those teams, apart from Atlanta, I don't know exactly how well Atlanta did. All of those
Not
teams
very
went
well.
not very well. Went to the postseason. Who do you think number 1 was?
Oh God, wasn't it a really bad team like Derek Carr or something?
It was Deshaun Watson.
Deshaun Watson. Yeah.
Yeah. So to me, now we'll have to talk about him as well because obviously the news has come out that JJ Watt has been released by the Texans. If you're looking as a team to go, right, we need to figure out our offense. If you're looking, the fact that Deshaun Watson did better than the number 2 and number 3 guys who played each other in the Super Bowl, and he had 100 more yards passing this year than Patrick Mahomes, and that's when you took away his favorite wide receiver. He is go. Nah.
Yeah.
But we have to now talk about postseason stuff, which is
Yes.
that JJ. Yep. Do you want to? You do
JJ
host.
Watt, JJ Watt, and the Texans have mutually agreed to a release. He asked for it today. He made a video for the fans of the Texans because he wanted to speak to the people, show his face, and I think he's one of the most respectable NFLers out there.
And I think that something that wouldn't surprise me is one, Texans fans are going, no, 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 no.
Absolutely.
And that in a couple of years' time, the Texans put a statue of JJ outside the stadium. Because as much as he had possibly the best 10 years for them, he did also, after one of their worst natural disasters, raise, I think it was £250 million for hurricane relief.
It was a lot.
And was the most deserving person to get the Walter Payton Man of the Year. And I don't think this is a decision that JJ wanted to take.
No. I think you can see it in the video that he posted that he's disappointed that this is the avenue that he's had to take. And I say had to because the goal is to win.
Yeah.
JJ Watt's not getting it. Watt's not getting any younger.
Mm-hmm.
He's seeing his younger brother on a better team.
Yeah.
Putting up better stats.
Mm-hmm.
So why would you want to stick with a team that has obviously demonstrated that they're going to be rebuilding?
The thing for JJ for me is that I think like every single player's got things that they want to tick off over a career. He's won defensive MVP. He's won defensive player of the year. He's done everything you can on the defensive side of the football to prove that he is, if not the best defensive player to play the game in a long while. I think the only person that beats him in sacks so far is I think there's one person ahead of him in sacks. And I don't think it's that far away. I don't think it's that close. The Super Bowl is the last thing on his list for me.
Yeah.
Is that he wants a postseason run. He wants a Super Bowl. And I think as much as the Texans were on the way, their last year, they were doing this. And to me, I went, Texans, you add 1 or 2 pieces and you're there. You're in the conversation. You're a team that really, in reality, if I had to watch a team play against Kansas City, it was the Texans. Because they were talented, they could throw the ball, they were exciting. But now you've lost the heart of your team. Your QB doesn't want to be there. This is difficult for the Texans.
Well, and this takes me right back to the DeAndre Hopkins trade. Like
this was the start where it went wrong.
It is mind-boggling to me what's his name? Brian Jones. I don't even care anymore. Yeah. What he did to that team. It is mind-boggling that the owner allowed that to happen to his team when they were trending in such a good way. And now effectively you've just plunged into a rebuild.
Yeah, you're in a rebuild that you didn't need to be in.
And it's
You
a
were
rebuild that
your team.
yeah, and it's a rebuild that your franchise quarterback doesn't want to be around for now.
Look, with the best in the world, I don't know if it's exactly the same year, but he came into the league around the same year as Patrick, around the same year as Baker. And are you telling me that he's looking around the league and going, Baker has had a better year than me?
Yeah.
Fuck. I don't want to be here anymore.
Yeah.
Take me somewhere where I'm going to be able to, be prevalent for the next couple of years. The thing for me with the JJ, and I want to put this out there and see your reaction to this. JJ did not go and talk to management of the team. He did not go and talk to the current head coach. He didn't go and talk to the current general manager. He went to ownership. So what does that what does that tell you about the current state of the Texans organization? That JJ wouldn't go and talk to the people that are meant to be running the place. He went above their heads and went to speak to the owner.
Yeah, that tells me that there's no respect in the room for the leadership of the team. That the coach, even though there's a brand new coach there, that's probably the first reason. Why would you talk to a guy that just got there? Right? Mm-hmm. They just hired a new coach. Why would you talk to a guy that just got there? The GM is the guy that is again new because Brian Johnson was also the GM. So the general manager is new. So to me, it's almost logical to go to the ownership and go, look, you guys have been here as long as I have, as long as I have been here, you guys have been the ownership. I feel it's to me, this is almost this is JJ showing his respect for the team and the management, or not the management, the ownership. Mm-hmm. The ownership that brought him in, that pays his salary, and has gone, look, I respect everything that you've done for me, this organization, but I don't respect where it's gone, where it's been taken by management, and I feel I owe you this discussion because I want to get out.
The thing for me was the point where you could have righted the ship, which could have been done, was you needed to take the leaders of your team, which really in reality is Deshaun Watson, JJ Watt, and some other members of that team, get them around the table before you hire a new head coach and a new general manager and take, what do you need?
Yeah. Well, what do you need? That should have happened the second they were eliminated from the playoffs last year.
Yeah.
What do you need? Brian Johnson needs to be fired. Done.
Yeah.
They should have fired him the day he approached the ownership team and went, I'm going to trade DeAndre Hopkins. Ownership should have looked him dead in the eye and gone, you're absolutely insane.
The reasoning that's come out behind why he got rid of DeAndre Hopkins baffles me.
Yeah.
Because he said that it was because he had family trouble and da 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 da. To me, and this goes for all athletes, right? What you do once you get out of your respective sport, as long as it's not illegal, not abusive, and not something that we look on down to, like if you leave and you go and murder kids, can't really have you on the team. But if the worst thing is that DeAndre Hopkins has quite a few women that he's paying money to because he's got a lot of kids, really in reality, as a head coach, you should be, does he turn up on time? Does he catch a football better than anyone else?
And is he not a complete prick?
Yeah. Does he do those two things?
I would add that.
Does he do those two things? Yeah, he does those two things.
Yeah.
Cool. Don't care what he's doing in his personal life. That's not
Mhm.
my concern.
As long as it's not
The same as
illegal,
long as
abusive.
it's not
Yeah.
illegal, abusive, da 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 da, and he's not making our team look bad. Because if they had DeAndre Hopkins, you look at it and go, okay, new head coach, new GM, right? But we've still got JJ. Deshaun Watson had a career year in passing. We can go into the draft well, and we'll be back there. It was a bad year.
Yeah.
We'll move on.
You need to look at maybe, improving the running back situation a little bit, maybe a couple of pieces here and there. But you didn't need to trade DeAndre Hopkins to I have said this forever. Well, I am saying it now forever because it's something that I've learned. You don't trade from a strength to address a weakness. When you do that, you ultimately make your team weaker.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
with the best of the world, you then make both of those positions average.
Right. And that's exactly what they did. They traded from a strength in DeAndre Hopkins to address a weakness at running back and ultimately made their team worse.
But they traded when they didn't need to.
Yeah.
You traded for a player that, with the best will in the world, is not worth DeAndre Hopkins, no matter what else you got. But there were so many other running backs available
in free agency.
Kareem Hunt was available. Okay,
Tyreek Hill was available.
Tyreek Hill was available. With the best will in the world, yeah, okay. You look at, let's say, for example, that you went for trying to think of a running back. You went with a running back that's got a bit of a bad history or something like
Antonio Brown.
Yeah. Antonio Brown isn't a running back, he's a wide receiver.
Oh.
You do what teams do, which is you go, right, let's get a veteran running back who probably only got like a year or two left in him, and let's draft some running backs. Because then you go, right, well, okay, our problem last year was running backs. We've got some running backs.
We're going to sign a veteran running back so he can help on the field and also help develop the future of our running back situation long term.
There you go.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And you could have got that in free agency. That was available.
So basically what this is the Texans are an absolute mess now. They're probably going to lose their franchise quarterback, and it's a real it's a damn shame.
Well, the problem is that the situation that the Texans are in at the moment is they are basically having to, because if they approach the subject with a team and go, we might trade Deshaun Watson or we might trade JJ, those players have value to other teams. But the problem is that every single team that turns around and goes, and this is why JJ was released, because he had a year left on his contract, was teams were called and went, oh, we'll trade JJ for this. And all the other teams went, no, it's okay. And the Texans went, what? And basically it was just explained that, look, he doesn't want to play for you, so he's going to be, we can get him for free.
Yeah.
The same with Deshaun Watson is that the Texans are going to have to give away their arm and leg to get rid of Deshaun Watson, because he's going to go to another team that's going to take the number one offensive leader in football and go, you idiots. Because everyone already knows he doesn't want to be there.
Yeah. So his value has immediately decreased.
Yeah. It's not decreased to the team that's going to get him. It's decreased to the team that's trying to get rid of him. Problem.
And you couldn't even get any kind of value for JJ Watt, which is absurd. Yeah. It's an absolute mess in Texas, and I honestly don't want to watch it. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion now. Is this team?
It's a complete. The thing for me as well is that with the best will in the world, there's certain players on the team that you just don't trade. Now, that for me is you don't trade away your brand new QB who is going to be the future of your franchise. You don't trade away his favorite toy. No, at no point in New England, with how cutthroat Bill Belichick was with trading people, at no point did he go, "We're going to trade Julian Edelman."
Yeah.
Because the first thing that would have happened after that trade conversation was happened was Tom would have kicked the door down and went, "You want to do what?
Yeah.
He's mine."
Exactly.
Um, so we go into the postseason. There is a lot of valuable players up for trade. A lot of people that are going to be able to move around. Um,
Yeah, we'll take a look at all that kind of stuff in the coming weeks, I'm sure, as the off season continues. Speaking of a wreck, and this is somewhat unfortunate news, but to switch to F1 for a moment, we do have to report that Fernando Alonso had a crash yesterday.
yeah, our thoughts are obviously with him.
He apparently has a fractured jaw,
Upper
right?
jaw.
Upper jaw. So they've done successful surgery to repair that.
Yeah.
But apparently, despite the fact that he has a broken face, he's going to be okay to proceed with a regular training schedule once he's recovered, which, I mean, could be as early as, I personally think Alpine has pushed their training schedule already, because as you said before we started, when we were discussing topics, McLaren's training now.
Yeah.
And so is Red Bull. We've already seen Sergio Perez in a Red Bull.
Yep.
So,
I mean,
unless Fernando's training schedule is simply just smaller than everyone else's, which I can't imagine
he
why it would
hasn't
be, because he's been out for a year.
he hasn't driven a Formula One car.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, Ferrari had, and this is cheeky to me, Ferrari had guys in the car. Well, not in the car, because you can't drive the past 2 years Formula One car in test unless it's an FIA sanctioned test. So they put all their guys in a car from 3 years ago. To which you're like, really, Ferrari? Come on. It's basically the same thing. It's a concern to me, because really, in reality, guys are going to be back in the car in 3 weeks. In theory, guys are in simulations and testing and stuff like that at the moment. Lando and Ricardo are McLaren now, doing testing, doing sim, getting ready. The man has broken his face. Your upper jaw is this bit, it's connected to your skull.
Yeah.
So I don't know a lot, but to have hit your face hard enough to do that and be in a car ready to go in 3 weeks is a concern to me.
It's going to be a stretch.
Yeah, because I'm like, is he really going to be 100%?
Yeah, it's really hard to tell whether that's going to be the case or not. We wish Fernando nothing but the best. It's unfortunate that this is how his return to F1 has to start. But we're both just thankful that he's fine.
Yeah.
And everything's okay there. Now, I do want to transition into hockey a bit, because there's a bunch of good news out of the PWHPA, Provincial Women's Hockey, not provincial. That's where my Barracudas play. It gets confusing. Professional Women's Hockey Players Association. It's the PWH, and then, anyways, the day after we recorded last week's podcast, the Toronto Maple Leafs announced a partnership with the PWHPA, which is exactly what we mentioned and I hoped we would see. So they are guaranteeing a game at Scotiabank Arena, as well as it's more of a formal partnership. So there'll be a future game at Scotiabank Arena, as well as enhanced marketing, coordination, and support, sponsorship consulting on commercial efforts. So I'm interested to see if this is going to be like television commercials, other marketing
So
things like that.
is the logic that every sorry I was thinking because the way
I think I get where you're trying to go, where the logic is that every NHL team sponsors a major event kind of thing.
yeah, or it's almost that there's kind of a shared agreement there where what happens in the UK is that you have Arsenal and then you have Arsenal ladies, and I could be butchering this, but basically they use the same facilities, have access to the same staff, have access to the overall pot of money.
Yeah.
Um, and it means that basically when people approach Arsenal and go, we want to sponsor you, Arsenal go, okay, but you're not just sponsoring the men's team. This team sits underneath the same banner. We have the same commercial connections. So if Nike, you turn around and say, right, we want to give £12 million to your men's team, well, then you've got to give a proportional amount to our women's team as well. Now, whether that's a deal that gets struck down the middle in or outside of the building is different. But I could possibly see a logic to a team like, the Maple Leafs, which there is probably a female team in the area of Toronto, going, okay, well, you are the female Toronto Leafs. You play in the same stadium, you have access to the same, because I'm pretty sure the Leafs aren't using their gym all the time, or their academic people, or the stadium, or the practice ice.
Well, if I can jump in, so there's hub cities for the PWHPA kind of scattered around North America because they're not necessarily a league yet.
Yeah.
That's obviously what they're trying to trend towards, and they're already taking steps with that, with how competitive this new hub setup is going to be, because there's going to be like tryouts and things like that for each Dream Gap tour stop. So it's going to be more league like, more tournament like, instead of just showing up, playing some games and having a laugh, right? So this partnership is along the veins of, when the tour comes to Toronto, we'll have it at the Scotiabank Arena. All the facilities will be open to you, all that kind of stuff. Hopefully the Toronto hub, as you're suggesting with like Arsenal and Lady Arsenal, has the same kind of idea, where the Toronto PWHPA hub, so that would be players like Natalie Spooner, Sarah Nurse, big names in the GTA kind of a Southern Ontario area, have access to these facilities that can help them maintain and even excel at their
and I mean, you almost turn around to the teams in that area and go, okay, we're gonna do it's not an expansion draft kind of thing, but we're gonna start a league, and the team that your zip code, if you are a professionally registered player, then, and I don't know how their original contracts work and stuff like that, then the contract then says, right, well, you are now because you come under the zip code of Toronto, you're going to start with the Leafs, and you do that for the first 10 players, and then everyone else is almost like a free agency. Because I think that would do two things. That would kickstart the league, because the thing is that with these traveling tournaments, the thing I personally find is that, okay, well, the team comes to town. You want to root for your hometown team. So if I'm supporting Arsenal, then the normal thing that happens is the wife thing goes, oh, well, I support Arsenal. Ladies. Well, because female version, and you want to go and watch it. That you then have the same brand loyalty and team loyalty for the people that support the Leafs will then support the female Leafs. And it then means that it starts to develop the teams as much.
And the ultimate goal is that, like, the NHL as a league gets involved, right? Because for me, what I want to see next is, there's a hub in Calgary and a hub in Montreal. So I want to see the Montreal Canadiens and the Calgary Flames step up
Mhm.
next and
Yeah.
and pledge their sponsorship to them. So
Mhm.
that was the good news. One of the good news. Another one is that they've just announced a partnership with Fresh Attitude,
Mhm.
which personally I haven't heard of, but it's a fresh vegetable producer. So I guess it's fresh fruits or fresh foods.
It's a
So
good
the
sponsor. Then,
players,
yeah. You've got
yeah, so the
hungry,
players
hungry
now have
athletes.
access to good food in
Good.
it basically. So that's good.
But
And then
that's how.
as I mentioned earlier as well, we had Monique and Jocelyn Lamoureux retire.
Mhm.
I actually posted on my Instagram. I had the pleasure of interviewing Jocelyn Lamoureux Davidson ringside at the tour that I got to do play by play for over a year
Mhm.
ago.
Yeah.
Um, I was doing ringside interviews, and she was the post game ringside interview that I got the pleasure of doing, and she had a hat trick in that game. So the Lamoureux twins are unbelievable.
Mhm.
Gold medalists in 2018, silver medalists. Gold and silver medalists across the board, world championships, Olympic medals.
Yeah.
They are incredible athletes, incredible people. So we wish them all the best in retirement. I'm sure they'll
All
be
the best.
around the women's hockey community for years to come.
Mhm. And
Now,
I would, yeah, I, I would, I would hope that the NHL takes a leaf from FIFA's book and goes, let's make this happen, because I think that women's football in the UK and women's rugby in the UK has really started to take off because of the fact that teams can't just sponsor, because it comes under the banner.
yeah,
They can't just go, we are just going to sponsor the men. They go, we want to sponsor Saracens. Okay, we're going to have to sponsor the male and the female teams. And it means that with rugby, I mean, professional rugby isn't enough. Female football in the UK, they did do an almost expansion draft thing. Um, and a lot of players got paid because the best player made a bidding war for all the other teams because she then had a value. It wasn't to the same value as the men. That's something that is going to change over the years. But she had a value which was a lot above the living wage. I think it was about £200,000.
and it's the same in the NBA as well. The
Yeah,
NBA is directly connected. Excuse me, directly connected to the WNBA. The sponsorships are shared. The commissioner of the WNBA works in tandem with the commissioner of the NBA. They work together, um, as well as separately on their own initiatives. There's all kinds
yeah,
of great initiatives that the WNBA has done. Stuff like paid maternity leave. Uh,
yeah.
there's great initiatives like that. I would like to wrap up. Let's go with the NHL because it's
Okay.
been going well for the Canadian division as a whole, to be honest, or
It's doing well.
The Scotia North division, as we have to say officially, but it's called the Canadian division. Let's be honest. I don't know why they weren't. I don't know why they named them the way they did, because you had the Atlantic from east to west. You had the Atlantic, Metropolitan,
Mhm.
Central, and Pacific divisions.
Yeah.
Now you have the East, Central, West, and North. I don't know why you didn't keep Atlantic and Pacific and Central
The,
and
the,
then
the
the
bit that
Canadian
annoys
division.
if the bit that annoys me, that if I'm honest, that is a struggle, is you have east, west, north, which means you've gone, okay, of this line, any team east, any team west, any team north, and then central.
Yeah, and it's funny
Why did
because
you just call it the South Division?
because Detroit is in the Central Division
That's not central at all.
and Tampa Bay and Florida are in the Central Division.
Right, well, let's get a map up.
They had to do it that way because there's so many teams concentrated in the northeast of the United States that's the East Division. But then the Central Division does this like stretch down and to the east. It's really quite funny. They should have called it something else, and they should have called the North Division the Canadian Division because that's what it is. It's the Canadian Division. Who cares? Anyways,
But yeah, but just
oh now he's mad about it.
it annoys me because just call it the South Division. Pick where you're going to put your 4 lines.
Well, but Detroit's in it.
Right, where's Detroit?
Michigan. By Lake Michigan, by the Great Lakes in the north part of the states.
And they should have been in the North one.
But then you've got the border thing.
It just annoys me that you've got East, West, North, Central. Just call it South. Just for because you've gone 3 axis of the compass.
Yeah.
Why didn't you go for 4th?
Or you could have gone Atlantic. I don't know.
Whichever sea they're closest to.
Well, yeah, Atlantic Pacific was fine. I don't know why you deviated from Atlantic Pacific. And then for the middle one, you could have kept Central, or you could have gone with, I don't know, Mountain. I don't know.
Yeah.
Something.
Or, I mean, to be honest, the one that would have made me happier, because it makes more sense, is you go Canadian, South American, and then teams closest to Mongolia and teams closest to France. Because then I could have gone, I get that.
Mongolia.
Teams closest to Mongolia. So if you go across the sea, well, actually hit Japan first.
Yeah.
I don't know. But it would have been better.
So I do want to cover the last few games. The Leafs are in first place in the league. 11 wins, 2 losses, 1 overtime loss for 23 points. They're ahead of Boston, who's second by 3 points. Tampa Bay 19, and Florida is in there with 18 points. All 6 out of the 7 Canadian teams are in the top 16 in the league. You've got Toronto in first, Montreal in 6th, Edmonton 7th, Winnipeg 9th, Calgary 16th. Vancouver is big old yikes. They have had a really hard time. They're down in 24th in the league, and they have a goal differential of -15, which means they've been outscored by 15 goals in 17 games. So they've played a lot of games, the most in the league. They played 17 games, so they're due for a break in a bit. But there's some real turmoil in the Vancouver Canucks locker room. The Leafs, on the other hand, everybody's talking about how the Montreal Canadiens are the best team in the Canadian division, and I don't really understand that. I think it's because Montreal isn't supposed to be this good, but they are. Like there was less of an expectation on Montreal to be good because they finished 24th in the league last year. Whereas this year, they're in 6th in the league right now after 14 games, and everybody thinks that's fantastic. Whereas the Leafs are expected to be this good because they have $40 million wrapped up in 4 players.
I mean, yeah, you'd be annoyed if you had $40 million and it wasn't paying off for you.
Right. So, this is expected for the Leafs, but also this Leafs team feels a bit different than past Leaf teams. Everybody seems more excited when goals are scored, especially when older players score. The older players that they brought in, the Joe Thorntons, the Wayne Simmons of the world, were brought in there's a different feeling about them where the leadership just feels more accepted than with previous older players coming in. Jason Spezza is a bigger part of the team as well, 36-year-old Jason Spezza. And they just feel like a team that isn't going to fall apart as easily. There's been a few games that I've watched and gone, oh, well, it'd be nice to be nice to get a save there, be nice to see some offense going on. But those games have been few and far between. They've had some bad games. They've actually have played two not so good games in a row. The third game in the Vancouver series, and then they played Montreal Wednesday night, and it was not a great game. But they managed to win them because their goalie played well and the offense showed up when they needed it to. Right? The big guys were being shut down a little bit in those two games. Matthews still scored in the Vancouver game. The kid had a 9-game goal streak. Matthews scored in 9 straight games. That was broken on Wednesday night, unfortunately for him. But Matthews is leading the league in scoring, in goals. Marner's third in the league in points. And it just feels different around the Toronto Maple Leafs.
I think the trend I'm seeing as well, just looking back, is that when the Leafs figure out how to beat a team, they really figure it out. So the one for me that shows this most is the Canucks. First game against the Canucks, 7-3.
Yeah, that was a beat. That was a beat down. The
Yeah,
two
okay,
games were a beat down.
We've got these guys figured out, and then 5-1, and then 3-1.
Right.
You go, no. Yesterday, we beat the Canadians by 2. Playing them again Sunday. I mean, it's understandable that these trends will continue. It's every now and again there is a loss spattered in there. But I mean, if we look at the Jets, which was on the 19th of January, Maple Leafs 3, Jets 1. Oh no, I got that wrong. How did I get that wrong? Why did we only play the Jets 1? I can see your internal hatred going nuts at me. No, it's okay. It works for the Oilers. Maple Leafs 1, Oilers 3, Maple Leafs 4, Oilers 2. It's almost switched. Okay, we know what we need to do now. We've figured this out. We've got you. We know what we need to do here. We know the plan here. We're okay.
And it's even when the Leafs aren't playing as well, even when they're playing a bad game, which, like I said, the last 2 games haven't been that great. They've been outshot in both the last 2 games. Vancouver outshot them to hell. And again, last night, Vancouver outshot Calgary to hell and just was not good. Yeah. Like Vancouver is taking a lot of shots. They're not very good shots. They're not high danger shots. And then they're allowing grade A chances against them, and they're getting scored on. So it's something is wrought in Vancouver, and it's not going well. But with Toronto, even when they play poorly, they manage to figure it out enough to get ahead in the game and then shut down the team in the third period, which they're famously very bad at.
Yes, but maybe that's a learning that they're now better at that.
Exactly. They've been able to do it 2 games in a row, which is good because they were tied going into the third period against Vancouver and tied going into the third period against Montreal. Scored 2 quick goals in the first half of the third period, and then the second half of the third period shut them down.
The thing that stands out most for me is not the goals for, because that is pretty consistent across the board. I mean, Maple Leafs at the top with 52. You go down, the Oilers got 55. Canucks 51. The goals against are the one that stands out for me because there is only one team with less goals scored on them, and that's the Flames. Now there is a 16 goal difference at the moment, which to me shows a confidence because goals for at the end of the day, your offense is going to produce. Hockey is a strong game, Robbie. Quick, fast, going to happen. But it is showing that your goalie consistently is beasting because Maple Leafs 36 goals allowed, which over the stretch so far is okay. Canadians 38, Oilers 52, Jets 36, so on the same, but they're not scoring as much. Flames 34, all right, that's good, but they're 20 goals down on you, so the offense isn't there. And then the Canucks 66 and the Senators 63. So you're evidently able to score, but still have the talent at both ends.
I guess I just completely forgot about the Senators when I was talking about the standings. 5 out of 6 of the good Canadian teams are in the top 16. Senators
They're 2 for 12, Jared.
Are not. Yeah, it's a rough time in Ottawa.
Not great. It's not good. Not that great.
Yeah, they're last in the league. They're worse than the Detroit Red Wings. And the Detroit Red Wings are bad.
Oh, the Detroit Red Wings are bad.
Yeah. And the Senators are worse. The Senators have a goal differential of -31.
Your goalie's having a bad day.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that just about wraps it up. Nice little bit of hockey talk there. We'll be back again next week, of course. And
I pressed the button.
This is officially the off season for the NFL now, which means we'll be talking much less about the NFL. And it's still the off season for Formula One. So the idea is we're gonna get Bella back on with a few more quizzes and things like that.
You discussed that with her yet?
Not at this precise moment. I meant to actually message her yesterday about it.
Okay.
Regardless, the idea is to have a bit more fun with the off season. We'll still do once a week, and we will see you again next week. So we wish better luck next week, specifically to the Ottawa Senators, also the Vancouver Canucks, because they're not doing well, and to all the other losers throughout the NHL. We wish better luck next several years to the Houston Texans, because boy, are they going to need it.
It's going to be a rough ride there for a bit, guys. It's going to be rough. I'd love to tell you it's not. The thing that I'm just thinking about, that I've just checked, and I know you're ending the podcast and bringing up a subject at the last minute.
Yep.
Normally, when a team says they release someone, pretty much in the next 5 minutes, another team picks them up. No one's picked up JJ yet.
Well, it did happen this morning. So they're probably letting this simmer a bit. Also, I'm pretty sure you can't sign anybody, even if they've been released, once until free agency opens up.
Okay. It's going to be an interesting year.
It is indeed. And we'll see you next week.
Podcast, so I can go and have some dinner.